Oh, durka durka durka.
All right, welcome back to another shitty review of a knife you've never heard of. That knife, Fintiso, Amazon knife, unnamed knife. So 3.3 inch 14C28N blade. How did I find it? Because I always search for this. I like to find budget knives and 14C28N. I think it's a good signal that they're a good knife because the default would be D2. I got this thing for cheap. Currently, this is March 2024. This thing is listed for $49, but I got this like a week ago, and it was listed for $57. No, $55 with a 50% coupon. So I only paid $27 for this thing. I don't think you should. I actually do think it's worth $50. But I think you should be able to hang out and wait and get it for, let's say on average 35. I think I got a really good deal because it's new. And they're screwing around. Trying to get their name out there. But anyway, I really like this knife. Okay, let's talk about some basics. Blade shape, really practical. I like it. You got 2 deployment mechanisms here. Nice smooth back flipper. And then blade hole, both really good. Other things I like, I seem to care more about a pocket clip than most people, and often I actually find this kind of style, the titanium clip, to be annoying because it's usually really tight. I actually like this. I'm going to compare this later to the Miguron. This is the Carix 2, but I just like this style a little bit better. It's a little bit springier, and I don't know. So, and it's got a little bit of visual thing here, interest. It's G10, 14C28N. Let me just put that down here. G10, but you can get this in aluminum too. It's a little bit more expensive, but it looked pretty cool. I couldn't get it. It wasn't available at the time, but this is aluminum handle if that's your thing. And I have a lot of knives that look like this, so I didn't buy it. But all right, I did another review on the Fintiso knife. This is totally random. This is a random Amazon knife, right? I bought this. I brought its brother at 2 o'clock in the morning. I mentioned that in the other email. What the fuck? Another video, and I really liked it. It's really different though. So the other one doesn't have a name either, but these don't actually have a ton in common. I mean, even the logo and the way it's on the blade, there's a lot of things that are different. So I wouldn't normally compare these knives, except that there are the only 2 knives available from this company on Amazon. And the thing that I find in common about them, so differences are, this is a little bit just sleeker, different style, front flipper, different kind of more, I don't know, almost aerodynamic shape. The G10 is smoother. And this one's a little bit more rugged, bigger blade, yada, yada, yada. But what I do think is kind of interesting about both of them, relative to some of these other budget knives that I'll compare it to later. It's a lot of attention to detail. And both these knives have some cool stuff at the pivot. So this one here has, see if you can make sure you can see this really well, but it has like this cool milling out here. It almost looks like I don't know, like a sunburst pattern. It has this F for Fintiso logo, and it makes it actually a thing you can hold on to. It's a liner lock, and you can just kind of shake it down, and it's almost like, I don't know, a little spot for your fingers. This is the opposite, but also cool. You can see this. It's raised a little bit on both sides, the pivot. There's just more attention to detail about this knife than some of these other budget knives. It's got some different milling here. It's all pretty well rounded out. Not super smooth, but definitely not hard edges. And I mentioned this about the other Fintiso knife, but it just seems like it was designed by knife people. Like not, there's just some extra finishes and extra effort into it that I appreciate for a budget knife, for not a clone. And I'll just be honest, like I have something in my DNA that roots for sort of underdogs in whatever case. I mean, it's about to be March Madness, so I root for underdogs. And there's something about it that I root for underdogs. Even when it comes to Chinese folding knives. And these are both really cool knives with some unique characteristics that I like. That's why I also like Megaron, my favorite brand, although this isn't my favorite blade of theirs, but so I just think it's cool. They only have 2 knives. This company, so I mentioned this in the last review, but they seem like they're a regular cutlery company that has a few offshoot brands, and they're doing something with pocket knives. That's the best I can tell. I think they've been doing the cutlery thing for a while, probably at least 10 years, and I have some weird fantasy in my mind that the owner's son is like, no, we can make it in pocket knives. I can do it. I don't know why I think that, but it is the kind of thing I think about. Fucking buying this shit, wasting my money on Amazon. Here's what it comes in. It's a pretty nice, like this is maybe the best package. So like Megaron knives come in just a box and they give you a cloth. Kaiser knives give you some extra hardware and a sticker. That's cool. Petrified fish, or maybe sticker. Petrified fish gives you a sticker. But you get pouches, CRJB, CJRB, whatever it is. Gives you pouches. This is kind of all the above. You get this fucking thing. So you get this extra, just in case you want to give this to your brother-in-law as a gift or something. It's extra special box. Okay. Endless exploration, endless sharp. I mean, it's not endless. You do have to sharpen this thing, but I guess it's aspirational. Nice. I like this case actually. And then you get a microfiber cloth and a sticker and some hardware. So it's like all the above. And you know, I kind of like it. And I mentioned this before, but I got 2 of them. Interesting. They have their description here, and it is actually like a well-written thing. So it just makes me think that I have this goofy fantasy that the son of the owner of this cutlery company in mainland China decided to come to the U.S. and got a college education here and went back, and he's trying to convince dad that we should get into pocket knives. I mean, this is completely unjustified, but this is the kind of shit I think about when I'm stoned. Okay, this knife. Ooh, hit my thing here. I will say, not the sharpest. Okay, later I might actually oil this thing and sharpen it and make one other tweak to it. Maybe I'll put an update out or something, but it's pretty sharp. But you can see it's like a little bit, what do you call that? They're almost like little like dusty snow or something there. It's not it's to me it's like 50th percentile. It's like average sharpness. And I should also mention what it weighs, because they're not always good about that. They actually had a misprint, I think, potentially on their last one. At some point I'll buy a scale that you can fucking see on this, and it isn't calibrated, but okay. This thing is 4.02 ounces, which is right on the edge of making it, like, it doesn't feel heavy to me. I tend to like a little bit bigger knives that are like 3.5 to 4 ounces. After that, it starts feeling like a little heavy. And so this is right on the edge, but still good. And like I mentioned, some interesting visual, kind of interesting design stuff here, interesting milling, 2 solid deployment mechanisms, good steel, feels good in the hand. This is not uncomfortable on your palm, and I just, I like this. So solid knife. Now, how about some some comparisons, huh? All right, so now some comparisons to knives that I own that are similar. I don't have a giant knife collection, and I'm going to compare this to other knives in the same class, which is budget Chinese folders, originals. I think most of these are in 14C28N. I will note if they're not. But there's a small list of companies that produce knives in this area, and that's why it's interesting when there's a new one that pops up that's unknown. I'm not going to compare these to Spyderco's and Benchmades because I'm not really interested in those. And I am interested in these companies that I think are hustling and doing something interesting at a good price point. And I just like to buy knives because they're pretty cheap and mess around and look at the different features and find something I like. That's what it comes down to. So if that matches your preferences or whatever, and it's 2024, I'm recording this is March, I have a bunch of knives here that are the kind of thing you might buy, and I can compare them for you. If you're watching this 2 years later, you should probably go find another video. And also don't trust anything on the internet because why would you trust somebody that is whatever, random guy in his garage doing this shit? So here's the Fintiso. So in size, I picked these out because they're pretty darn similar. The size of the Fintiso knife is about 4.5 inches closed. Has that 3.38 inch knife, so as you might expect, if I could hold this fucking thing, it would be approximately 8 inches in length. 14C28N and back flipper and Spidey flick hole. Now so this knife, I got this relatively recently and unexpectedly I really like it. This Fintiso, this Bestech slider is about $68 knife. And it only has one deployment mechanism, but it feels very solid. So if you like a knife that is a little bit bigger handle, I know that the blade shape of these is not particularly similar, and even the handle length and shape. So this is kind of on the edge of being comparable. It's significantly more expensive. I'm going to say that this is going to land around 35 bucks around the Fintiso. So this is pretty different. I mean, it's not really fair to compare it to a knife that's twice as expensive. And this has some definite disadvantages. If the clip is, I actually really like the clip on this, and it's deep carry, but anyway, this is a good option if you like something that is really solid feeling and just a chunky and kind of cool. And I know this is kind of weird, like I was kind of thought this looked hokey in the pictures, but I don't know, something about this knife just does it for me. The Carex 2 from Migron. This is my favorite brand. Yes, I'm a Migron fanboy. And I would say that, like, conceptually, these have the most in common from the standpoint that they're both back flipper and blade hole, and quite similar in size and quite similar in width. I like, though, that this has, I think, this jimping and this blade shape and being able to put pressure, and I think this is a very secure feeling. This is the kind of knife that I think would be good if you had to use this like a utility knife, like a razor. It would be great for that, and you can do this choke up thing really easily because of this big old choil. But it just feels different. It feels more angular, and in general, I like it less. And it's about a $60 knife. I like it a lot, but I just don't like it as well. So the Monicala, this kind of goes in the same category of knives, by the way. It's one that I bought randomly off Amazon, similar price. Down don't screw around with the coupon stuff the way that Fintiso does. So this should potentially be very comparable. However, it just doesn't do it for me. So let's compare. This is in carbon fiber. I wrote it down verbatim. Assault Team 2. Carbon fiber, 14C28N. Pretty darn similar. And, but it's a little heavier. So this one, and the lockup I really don't like the lockup on this one. The weight on it is 4.55 ounces. So like I said, it kind of gets into that feeling heavy territory. And it just doesn't have the right feel to it to me. To me, it feels like somebody who, I don't know. It's like someone made a CAD drawing of this and then they went out and they did it and they made it and it didn't feel, it just doesn't, I don't know how to say it, but it just feels like a knife that is less than the sum of its parts. I don't love this grind, and I don't know. I mean, it's great. It has, I think, 4.4 rating on Amazon, but it's just something about it doesn't do it for me. But I would definitely, if you're going to pick a no-name brand, give these guys a chance. Kubey Ruckus. This has the most similar blade. Quite similar, actually. You see that. And this is significantly heavier. I think this knife is really cool. It has great action dropping shot. Front flipper. Feels good. But my beef with this knife is that it's kind of heavy. It's kind of heavy in a weird way. It feels heavy right in the middle here. The bolster. It's just something, it doesn't, I like it, but it just feels, I don't know how to say that. I mean, having a knife, it's a very personal thing, and you can't even put your finger on it, but something about a knife, it's not even very much heavier. It's only 4.27 ounces. It's a quarter of an ounce, but that weight seems to be concentrated in the middle. So I like it. It's also more expensive. Let's see, it's about 64 bucks for this guy, so. And last but not least, I do like this Gonzo Firebird. They're kind of different in that this has a crossbar lock and button studs. I like this actually, even though it's a cheapo knife. Right now it's at 23 bucks on Amazon. I like it more than I'm weird. I don't really like axis lock, crossbar lock. The only time I've cut myself, you can see this here. This is all from like not being careful with really like guillotine style axis lock, and it comes forward, and as I'm holding it, I'm not holding it right, and it slices me. I don't know. I just don't like it that much. I have this one tuned pretty well where I'm not gonna like hurt myself if you see that. And usually I can flick it if I wasn't like too far along, but I like this knife. However, like I said about the Monicala, whatever that is, it just doesn't feel as put together. It feels like a bunch of materials kind of slapped together, but maybe not a ton of thought. Maybe that's not fair. Honestly, I really like the way this feels too, and I don't care about the price of a knife because, I mean, as long as I do care, because I'm not going to buy this fucking overpriced, you know, like white guy waving his dick around. I have the only knife of this, you know. I don't care about that shit. But within a range, I'm not going to just say, well, it's 70 bucks, it must be better. So all that to say, just wanted to compare some of these, and you know, just getting back to it, I do think the Kubey Ruckus is probably the most comparable, but it's almost twice the price of the Fintiso. So anyway, my advice is buy this thing if you like this kind of crap. Wait for a coupon, should be able to get it. They've been doing 40% off coupons for their other knife. Here's their other knife. And this feels really good, very solid. If you subscribe to this weird thing that I do about trying to support random Chinese knife makers because you have some self-delusion about helping out the underdog, then go for it. But I will say, I just think it stacks up well. It's priced well right now, good steel. And, you know, I mentioned this in the other review, but they certainly just seem like knife people from the standpoint that they're leading with information about the hardness. And I just have the sense that whoever made this knife knows what they're doing. So, positive, really like it, and take a shot.